Welcome back to another Darktide video. Today we are going to be ranking all of the Darktide abilities throughout the entire tree. So I'm going to be going through we're going to start with the Veteran, then we're going to get to the Zealot, then the Psyker, and then the Ogryn. I'm going to go through all of them from left to right on the talent tree of all the abilities, and I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to give you my 2 cents. I'm sure it will not be a confrontational or controversial video whatsoever. So, if you disagree with me, leave it down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The channel just got monetized, so we've finished our phase 1 of the YouTube channel, and now we're entering phase 2, which is building up the community. So, if you like Darktide, Pokemon, Apex Legends, any other kind of games, maybe Helldivers we want to get into, I want to get into that soon, like, comment, subscribe, and join the Discord. It'll be down in the description down below. I made it about a week ago, and it's already up to like 15 people in the Discord as of recording, so that's better progress than I ever expected it to be. So without peddling my YouTube channel any further, let's go ahead and jump into it. We'll be starting with the Veteran, and his farthest to the left ability is Executioner Stance, which is you enter range stance for 5 seconds. You'll deal 25% extra range damage and 25% range weak spot damage. So that's a pretty large bonus that you get for entering into Executioner Stance, and we'll try and keep this video not too long-winded, so I'm not going to go into super deep detail on all these abilities. Except for the Ogryns, I'm going to have to take a little bit more time on, because I have never played the Ogryn since the year 1 update came out, so yeah. Executioner Stance, for me, gets a solid B tier at best, and it could drop down into C tier. And let me tell you why. First of all, the Veteran has other abilities that are fantastic and really good for your team and really good at just making you stronger overall. And the Executioner Stance is fantastic for taking out ranged enemies. If you're using the highlight Ogryns, I don't know that's just useless, really. And so just using the range stance and refreshing, keeping your range stance up permanently is the only thing that has going for it. And back when Veteran was able to take like 75% reduced range damage or whatever whenever he had range stance up, huge, ginormous, very nice for the Veteran. However, that's not the case anymore. You still get blasted out in the open now. Yeah, I just really don't think range stance is what it used to be. It used to be great. Now it's mediocre. If you're good at Veteran, and you can definitely run fun builds with it, but yeah, not my favorite. Next, we have Voice of Command. This one is an easy S tier. This is possibly, arguably, one of the, if not the best abilities in the game. Voice of Command, it sounds like it's no big deal, but what does it do? It replenishes your toughness just for clicking F, and it staggers all enemies within 9 meters. 9 meters is a large range, okay, to just get a free stagger on everybody. And in addition to that, if you're running Voice of Command, you're absolutely running his other ability modifier, Duty and Honor, which gives you plus 50 toughness over your already regen toughness, and this will give it to all your teammates in coherency. Did I say that as well? I believe it gives you it regenerates all the toughness for all your teammates in coherency, as well as gives you and all your teammates in coherency plus 50 toughness for 15 seconds. So you get like plus all your toughness plus an extra 50 toughness, so you're overhealed. You can pop this right before you get hit by a sniper or a pox burster that surprised you. You can also knock back pox bursters with this, and it's just an easy get out of jail free card. It also lets you rip reses super easy, especially, there's another ability modifier that lets you just run up to somebody, click F, and it will revive them. You don't need that. You can use that talent point somewhere else, because the ability is already so good, Voice of Command. You just pop that, it will stagger everybody around you, and you can just get the res, especially if you throw a grenade on the ground, then pop Voice of Command or something, some combo of that, and you can just get the res. It's super easy to do, super nice to do. Then we get to Infiltrate. So these stealth abilities, I don't know how to feel. So the Veteran has a stealth ability, and the Zealot has a stealth ability, and they're both really cool. However, they're very, very, very skill orientated. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you are very good at Darktide and you know exactly what you're doing, and you've built a very good build around Infiltrate or Shroud Field, which would be the Veteran or the Zealot's variation of this ability, very powerful, very high potential, especially being able to clutch reses, just for that, we're going to have to give it to the the veteran Shroud Field or an Infiltrate, whatever, we have to give them a low A tier. We're going to give them a low A tier. Or a high B tier. No, it has to be low A tier. You know, so this ability could absolutely be S tier. It can also be B tier or even C tier based on the person that's using it, because, and that's a lot of the things in this build, you'll find that everybody is, all the abilities are usable. Everything in the game is usable. Everything in the game is decent. But depending on player skill, some things are easy to get a lot of value out of, and some things are very hard to get a lot of value out of. But everything has at least similar upper ceiling to the amount of value that you can get out of, unless it's super broken, such as voice of command. I think that one is busted and super, super good. So yeah, you can't go wrong with voice of command on the veteran. That is an easy S tier option. All right, now we will head on over to the big boy Zealot. Let me know before we get into the Zealot, you know, what should I do next for a skill tree or a tier list? Should I do the keystone abilities for all the characters in the game? Or should I do grenades? Or should I do the auras? That's kind of an interesting twist, you know, do the auras. Anyways, hop into it. The Fury of the Faithful, you know, that is a just solid, you know, good. I have to give that one an absolute A tier. Fury of the Faithful is very good all around Zealot ability. It's always been the Zealot's just classic Zealot gameplay. When the game came out, Fury of the Faithful was like the only thing you could do, and it gives you that rush forward guaranteed crit plus let's see, it gives you more toughness. It replenishes 50% of your toughness, plus 20% attack speed, and your next melee hit gains plus 25% damage, I suppose, and is a guaranteed crit. You know, overall, great ability. You know, it lets your Zealot do your Zealot things, which is fly in on monstrosities, big targets, and delete them, which is what you want to do as a Zealot, you know. So this is an overall great, anything that gives you plus, you know, toughness on use is nice to have. But I think it is honestly tied, but loses out slightly to the next perk, which would be Chorus of Spiritual Fortitude. You know, Fury of the Faithful, you can get up to 2 charges. That's nice. It lets you be your aggro Zealot. That's why it's a nice A tier. It's definitely one of the better abilities in the game. But Chorus of the Spiritual Fortitude, another one of these support roles. And I have to tell you guys, you know, if we're rolling supports on the... I'm trying to line these bad boys up. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, if you're running just teamwork abilities, like if imagine on your team if you have a Commanding Shout veteran and a Chorus of Spiritual Fortitude Zealot, you know, you're just invincible for half the game. You know, I've ran games where we have like 2 Commanding Shout veterans and a Spiritual Fortitude Zealot, and you're invincible for the entire game, essentially. You never take damage. So, I mean, if you're in Darktide and you can't take damage and the enemies can't hit you because they're constantly staggered, it is impossible to lose. You know, Spiritual Fortitude even can stagger monstrosities. It's just insanely powerful. It makes your teammates unstaggerable, like invincible, or gives them a ton of toughness at least, and if not invincible, you know. And then also you can either get this like plus 20% damage at the end of it to all your teammates in coherency, or plus 30% toughness for damage reduction for 10 seconds at the end of your usage. You know, overall just huge ability stat buffs that just make it an absolute monster of an ability. And then we get to the Zealots, you know, ninja sneak ability Shroud Field, which is, you know, while in stealth, gain plus 20% movement speed, 100% backstab damage, 100% finesse damage, and 100% crit chance. It's nice, you know, really. I've seen people abuse it. You can absolutely abuse it to where you will never die, which makes it a nice ability, because if you're a very good Zealot at dodging around and never dying, then you can eventually stick all the reses and you'll never lose. But, you know, that's kind of a gimmick. And the problem with this ability is the exact same with the veterans from before, which is that it can either be a C tier ability or it can be... I don't know if I would give it an S tier ability, just because of its, you know, when you use it and it's very situational. It has a decently long recharge time, and, you know, you don't get a lot of kills out of it. So I'm going to have to take Shroud Field here. And honestly, I think I'm going to put him right behind the veterans Shroud Field. You know, I almost want to put him down into B tier. Honestly, I'm going to put it into B tier. I'm going to put it into B tier. I think maybe the veterans sneak is slightly better than the Zealots. Maybe they could swap places, you know. Argue with me in the comments if you will about that. You know, I know there are some sweaty, abusive builds for the veterans where you can actually, or for the Zealots where you can, and the veterans, where you can use these really well, but, you know, they're just so hard to get great utility out of. Like, Chorus of Spiritual Fortitude, click F, and you get a huge amount of value for your entire team. Shroud Field, you click F, and if you mess up, you get 0 value for yourself. And, you know, you can't even get value for other people in the team, basically. You can't give them any stat bonuses with this stuff. You know, of course, Spiritual Fortitude, fantastic. Fear of the Faithful, fantastic. Shroud Field, great if you are really good at abusing it and using it. And if you are an average Joe player, it's probably not that great. So, time for the Psyker. I think he'll be kind of interesting. The first one is going to be Venting Shriek. So Venting Shriek is going to get a, oh man, where should we put Venting Shriek? Should we put it in A or B? You know, it is definitely a high B if it's going into B. And it is definitely a, we're going to put it into high B. We're going to give him high B for this boy. Ooh, I put these in the wrong order. It doesn't matter. So we give Venting Shriek to Senior Psyker for a high B tier ability. Why is this? Well, it is really good at keeping yourself from blowing you up, which I, if you've seen my Psyker videos, blow myself up all the time because I use Venting Shriek on all my builds usually as a crutch. But you know, Venting Shriek is great for not blowing yourself up, and if you're running a Purg Boy staff, it's actually super duper fun to use this Creeping Flames ability and give Soul Blaze onto everybody, so that is really fun. That's a really fun way to use Venting Shriek, really nice way to use Venting Shriek, you know, and so that's really nice. But, you know, in comparison, how much value do you really get out of it? You know, pushing enemies back and using Soul Blaze. If you're using a Soul Blaze build, yeah, it's fantastic, but, you know, if you're not using a Soul Blaze build, you're using some other kind of build, you know, maybe Venting Shriek is not the best place for you to be putting your ability, just because, you know, there are things that you can get more value out of that help your team out, not just yourself. Venting Shriek is another one of those selfish abilities that doesn't really help out your teammates. And I think that kind of brings us nicely over to Telekind Shield. You know, Venting Shriek is not that, there's not that much going on with Venting Shriek, you know. Venting Shriek, lose Peril, maybe apply some Soul Blaze if you put that on. Nice to do, keep yourself from blowing up. But Telekind Shield. Telekind Shield is one of those abilities in the game that is really one of the best ones. You know, I think Telekind Shield, you know, it kind of depends which way you go with it. You know, if you go for the just the wall, which I've seen people do, you know, honestly, both of them are really good. You know, just the wall, I would say, is maybe high A tier, and maybe the dome is S tier. But, you know, I think every character in the game has an S tier ability, you know, so Telekind Dome, the Telekind Dome. Yeah, I think the Telekind Dome, we have to give the Telekind Dome a, you know, we're just going to give him an S tier, because I think the Psyker deserves an S tier ability, because the Psyker is a very good class, and I just have to say, the Telekind Dome is just really good. You know, if you're a veteran and you've got a teammate with Telekind Dome, if you're playing a game where there's a lot of specialists and you got Telekind Dome, or even Telekind Shield, you know, it's a little harder to get the best value out of Telekind Shield, but it does interesting things. You can have double charges of it. You know, either way on the Telekind Shield ability trees, I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. But altogether, Telekind Shield is great for just keeping ranged enemies off you. So if you're a veteran, you're fighting in range, you need help, you need cover, you need to be able to go out in the open and shoot the guys, but you're getting blasted when you go out in the open. Having Telekind Shield, Telekind Dome, really great. Also fantastic at helping deal with monstrosities. You know, I think with Telekind Dome, I've had not the Beast of, not, is that Beast of Nurgle? Yeah, Beast of Nurgle. I've had him get stuck like in the dome, and he's just like trapped inside this Telekind Dome. It was the funniest thing ever. I don't think they should be able to be stuck in the dome, but for some reason, like, this Beast of Nurgle was stuck in the dome. It was so funny. And if you're using the shields, you can stagger enemies that are coming through it. With enervating threshold. Oof, English. Okay. with Innervating Threshold. You know, that's kind of a fun ability. Anyways, Telekine Shield, overall great pick for the Psyker, the Zealot, yeah. The Psyker, super easy to get a lot of value out of. Your teammates will definitely like you more if you're using the Telekine Shield. Then we get into Sire's. I've always called it Sire's Gaze, but now I read it, you know, people flame me in the comments as they do. Scryer's Gaze, I don't know. I personally really like Scryer's Gaze, and it is very powerful, especially if you're pairing it with something like a Sail or some kind of weak spot crit hit build. It is absolutely fantastic. And this is like the Psyker's all or nothing build. So, you know, the thing is with Scryer's Gaze is you will either annihilate yourself or you will annihilate the enemies. And this is like an just like balls to the wall, you know, you're going out with this Scryer's Gaze, and you're either going to do a lot of damage or a lot of damage to yourself. So I think we're going to give Scryer's Gaze a low. No, he gets a high A tier. You know, is he better than? Here's the question: is Scryer's Gaze better than, you know, the Zealot's Fury of the Faithful? That's a hard decision. You know, I have to give the Zealot's Fury of the Faithful probably the win on that one. Just because the Zealot's Fury of the Faithful is just so consistent and you don't accidentally blow yourself up with, and it's easy for everybody to use. You know, it's so, you know, it's easy to, you get guaranteed crits, it does a lot, and it's easy for everybody to use. And even if you're throwing yourself into a bad situation, you can get out of it with the Zealot. You know, Scryer's Gaze, you can, or Scryer's Gaze, whatever you want to call it, you know, you can easily be a huge hindrance to your team, especially me. When I use it, I blow myself up with a Sail constantly. So, you know, I think, I think it's a fantastic ability and really lets you live out your DPS glass cannon dreams as a Psyker, as well as fantastic for when you're playing melee Psyker. It is super crucial and lets you, it opens up all these fun, weird mechanics for the Psyker that just let you get in there and do tons of damage in this strange combat. And so I really like Scryer's Gaze for that reason. And yeah, I think we're gonna have to stick it with that. And let's go ahead and, first we will take a look at our tree first. You know, how do we think the organization is so far? You know, I'd have to agree that these we'll start at the top. You know, Commanding Shout and Chorus of Spiritual Fortitude, all great abilities. Telekine Dome, fantastic. You know, honestly, I think we've got this in a pretty good order at the moment. You know, we can put you know, I am Venting Shriek behind these. I don't know. Between our A and B, you know, some of these can maybe go up. You know, of course, like these sneak abilities, you could be better at those, and you can put them up here in A if you really know what you're doing. And if you're a normal average Joe player, it's probably a lot harder to get value out of those. So, and Venting Shriek is good, but you know, it's Venting Shriek, so it doesn't do a whole lot as compared to other abilities. So I think that's in a good spot too. You know, it's fine. It's fine. And then, you know, Range Specialist or whatever it is, Ranged Executioner stance for the veteran is also, yeah. And then we will get into the Ogryn. You know, the Ogryn is a character that is very good for your teammates and very helpful, but maybe not the best abilities. I don't know. Let's go read through them. I don't even know. I love having Ogryns on my team. I'll say that. I notice when there are Ogryns on the team that are rolling abilities for you to use, you know, when there are Ogryns that are not, there's two types of Ogryns, really. I think of you that I've seen Ogryns drop million damage games with the kickback shotgun, and I've also had Ogryns be great at sticking the res and giving me some great toughness abilities and just helping me out overall in general. So that's really nice to have also. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at the Ogryn's abilities next. So for the Ogryn, and remember, you're gonna have to take my opinion here with a grain of salt, because I have not played the Ogryn since the whole new skill tree came out. So, you know, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about here. Okay, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but we're gonna start off with the Ogryn's first one, Indomitable. Okay, Indomitable, it essentially gives us a charge forward. It's the Ogryn's classic charge forward, but you also get plus 25% attack speed, plus 25% movement speed. It's really good for saving your teammates. It's also really annoying when your Ogryns run through hordes that you're trying to shoot at and knock them all over the place, and then you can't hit the guys you want to hit. So Indomitable is overall an okay ability, and honestly, I think Indomitable is gonna have to get, for me, honestly, I just don't know why, but I have to give it a solid B tier ability. Now there you can roll this into some ability modifiers that give you even more damage and lets your Ogryn kind of be like a DPS cannon. So for that, I know it's nice, but then you have to use the charge to get it, and it's a 30-second cooldown, so it's not a really fast. Well, maybe it is kind of a fast cooldown. I don't know. It's maybe, I don't know. I don't know where to put. I don't know where to put Indomitable. It sounds like it could be good, but it can also be kind of annoying, and it's just kind of situational as well. So yeah, I just think he probably has other better abilities, which in my opinion would be Loyal Protector. I think is actually fantastic, and I think we'll have to give Loyal Protector an S tier as well. And you'll notice a common theme with these S tier abilities and what Darktide is balanced for is if you're running, a team of just abilities that help out other people on your team instead of just running selfish like damage abilities, you'll find that you win. Your games are so easy. Level 5 Maelstrom work. You'll walk through them. You'll be able to just walk through these missions because you're doing incredible amounts of damage. So Loyal Protector, it taunts all enemies within 8 meters. They only attack the Ogryn, and then you can roll more into this, which gives you, replenishment cooldown and or greater radius, and make the people that are taunted take 25% more damage. The enemies taunted take 25% more damage. That's just a fantastic bonus. Super easy, helps get your teammates takes the pressure off of them. And if you're an Ogryn that's rolled into just infinite, toughness, reliable damage output, just being the tank, what Ogryn is designed to do, super good, super fantastic. I don't think you can go wrong with Loyal Protector. I'd say that's probably the Ogryn's best node, and maybe the Indomitable would be his second best node, but honestly, Point Blank Barrage. Okay, so this is a really interesting ability. I don't see a lot of people running the Stubbers anymore with the Ogryns when they are playing Ogryns, but I always found that the Stubbers were really nice to have, but I haven't seen that many people running it, so maybe for that reason Point Blank Barrage is not that great. And honestly, maybe we should take Indomitable and move it up to A tier. Maybe that's an A tier. Of course, Shroudfield could go in front of it here, depending on how it is, So let's see. So Shroudfield and these ninja ones are like in between, right? Okay. Yeah, this makes sense. Okay, yeah, this is better. Okay. Yeah, I like this more. So we have Indomitable in A tier. We have Shroudfield, the Veteran, and the Zealot abilities to go ninja style are in between A and B, depending on how good you are at the game. And we have Venting Shriek and ranged whatever for Executioner Stance for the Veteran is B, because they could be better. Haha. Okay. And then we have what is this? Point Blank Barrage for the honestly, here's what I think. I think we, in order to make this a little bit more tier listy, Executioner Stance for the Veteran all the way down to C tier. All the way down. Sorry, Executioner Stance, you got knocked down. And then I think Point Blank Barrage sounds like a solidly B tier ability. And the reasoning for that, for me, would be, you get that 25% rate of fire and reload speed. That's nice. But the problem is, if you're using other abilities, such as, like a shotgun, the kickback shotgun, or the grenade launcher, or whatever, it's just like an ability that you can't really even use because it doesn't. You won't. I mean, I guess you do get plus 70% reload speed for the next 10 seconds. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe you can spam the shotgun a lot. Maybe that'd be really good for a DPS build for the Ogryn. But for me personally, it just doesn't sound like that great of a setup to me. Maybe you could swap out the placement for maybe Indomitable is not that great and Point Blank or Barrage is great. But B tier abilities are still good. You can still use them and still have a good game, right? But these A and S tier abilities are really the ones that you run, and you'll find that your games are just, if you're capable of running them well, are just really easy, you know, really easy abilities that if you're capable of running them and using them well, you know, just make you an absolute damage can. You know, I think maybe, and let's move on here to the final thoughts on the skill tree. You know, so final thoughts on the skill tree. You know, take a look. You know, finalize this bad boy out. You know, maybe have a chance at unoffending some of you in the comment section. You'll see how I think a lot of these. Well, first of all, any ability that basically says give friendlies toughness and sustain or whatever. All these friendly sustain abilities are all busted. You know, and then we have some. This is kind of interesting how this is layered itself out. So we have the sustain abilities are all S tier. The give yourself more damage abilities or guaranteed crits or something like that abilities are all A tier because they're really good for yourself, and as long as you don't mess up, they're really good. And then, you know, the other abilities that are kind of more situational are, you know, maybe it sounds like it might be like this. Because I'll say, if you're using like the Ogryn heavy stubber or the light stubber, the SMG one, you whip that out, that would be really fun to do. Yeah, Venting Shriek is not bad. Don't get me wrong. Venting Shriek is not bad. I just think that there's other things you can do. You can micromanage yourself a little bit better. You don't need to use Venting Shriek, and you get basically Venting Shriek is just a crutch, a learning crutch, which is nothing wrong with that. I think it's a good ability. I use it quite a lot, especially because the Soul Blaze is really fun. They apply Soul Blaze and whatever the other parts of Venting Shriek. If you're running a Warp Charge build, Venting Shriek is a great option, just because it's fun and it's good. But yeah, it's fine. And then, you know, Veterans Executioner Stance is just bleh. It's bleh. You know, knowing what it used to be from Darktide launch to now, it's like you know, that's Veteran Stance. That's my take on Executioner Stance. And then, you know, you'll notice these these ninja perks have kind of came out to be you know, if you're great with them, you're great with them, and if you don't know how to use them, you basically don't have ability for the game. But I've seen people stick incredibly crazy reses. You know, if you're a veteran that's sticking reses with the with his Shroud Field or whatever, and you're just playing support vet, the not Shroud Field, Infiltrate the entire time, you know, S plus tier, same thing with the veteran or with the Zealot. You know, S plus tier if you're being the res boy and sneaking around and getting high value out of that, and doing the objectives, you know, these are great for sticking hard objectives that your teammates aren't great at sticking. So, you know, in that case, both of these move up to S tier. But I just think it gets stuck down here between A and B because it takes a lot of game knowledge and critical awareness of yourself and how the game is going to be able to use these abilities well. And for that reason, I think they stay between, I think they stay essentially A minus is where I'd put them. So thank you for watching, everybody. This has been an interesting build, guys. It's my first tier list. You know, we'll make some more tier lists here in the future. Hope everybody has a great day. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're still watching. I will see you in the next one.